writer, Poetry Festival Singapore in July. So you can hear more of his poetry next month. But this afternoon, he will also perform maybe a couple of poems from his collection. And so, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jonathan Chan.
Thank you very much. Been asked by our trusty AV colleagues to hold on for a moment. Sound check, or while they're sorting that out. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your busy Saturdays, especially as students in school, to come down to the beautiful library. This is my first time in the Central Public Library. The Biodiversity Library is beautiful. Probably going to go wander around there later on. As Eric mentioned in his kind introduction, my name is Jonathan. Been very active here in Singapore's English literature community. I write poems, I write essays, I write literary criticism, which is just a multisyllabic way of saying I write book reviews. And I also help out as an editor. So I help to edit magazines and journals where people send the same kinds of things that I like to write, and I help them edit, give them hopefully a supportive perspective as they try and bring their art to a place where it can be more of itself. And very excited to be here with all of you today. Maybe if I can just check with the AV team. Is everything okay? All right, so I'll regale you with some stories. No, I'm kidding. I'm very pleased to be here in my capacity helping out in the subcommittee for English at Poetry Festival Singapore. I was tasked with doing all the administrative work to make sure that Write and Burn could happen today. Very pleased to see some familiar faces. Earlier in the year, there was a reading that was done at Esplanade featuring finalists from last year's edition of Write and Burn. I'm very happy to see a couple of the performers from that evening here again tonight to wow all of you with their lovely poetry. Getting the thumbs up now, begin to read off my script. Now, good afternoon. I already introduced myself, but as mentioned, I've been helping out on the organizing committee for Write and Burn. I think it's a really important platform. I was the beneficiary of programs when I was in secondary school and JC, creative writing programs, and I'm very pleased to be in a position where I can come back and contribute and help out. So for those of you who did not read the Eventbrite link, Write and Burn is a poetry performance competition aimed at youth between the ages of 15 and 18 from all backgrounds, as you see represented by our lovely finalists here today, from all schools, junior colleges, and centralized institutions. In previous iterations of the competition, Madrasah students performed alongside students from junior colleges, centralized institutions, Millennia Institute, and international schools. And we have a similarly diverse lineup of readers here to share their work with us today. So, Write and Burn, what comes to mind? These two words conjoined together with and. This is a competition targeted toward adolescent writers. And as some of us who are no longer adolescents might remember, adolescence is a period of particular emotional and intellectual, sometimes romantic intensity. And that's a charge that sustains the writing of poetry. And I can't speak for many of our participants, but when I was a teenager and I was writing poems, when I look back at them now, I'm kind of wish that I'd burned them. There's some poems that I written when I was in secondary school and JC that I hope never see the light of day, except some of them can be found online if you dig, scrupulously enough, but hopefully that doesn't happen. I wanted to burn my poems as a teenager, but thankfully all of your presenters here today have decided not to do that. They haven't burned their poems. In fact, many of them have taken the courageous step to come here before you to share their work for your consideration and contemplation today. Maybe we can give them a round of applause just to encourage all of our readers here today. So our theme for this year's Write and Burn is Fear Un.bound, which is aligned with the broader theme of Unbound for this year's Poetry Festival Singapore. Fear manifests in endless guises such as anguished imaginings, hesitation, insecurities. Refusing fear's tyranny sets one free, and this is, I think, a lesson that many of us might have learned as teenagers, and those of us here who are still teenagers are figuring out Though maybe, to be honest, even those of us who have survived adolescence are still figuring that out as well. So this poetry competition invites lyric explorations of dread, anxiety, and cowardice alongside means to still these feelings. But our participants today will be overcoming one set of fears, that of stage fright, in presenting their work not only to all of you, but also to our esteemed judges, Desmond FX, Zhicheng, Mingde, Shilpa, Dikshit, Thapliyal, and Yeong Kit, and I'll share a little bit more about all of them later on. But all you have to know is that they're all wonderful, esteemed poets and authors in their own right, who have been very active in various capacities in Singapore's English literary scene, as educators, as writers, as editors. So hopefully all of our participants will not be too anxious around them. So without further ado, let me introduce, well, give you a moment. Ready? Before I invite our first reader up. Deep breath. Yes, Vizan, what's up? We met when you read at the previous thing. Yes. Sure. So let me read out, well, you're kind of seated in order, but just for clarity, allow me to read out the order in which all of you will be performing. First is Vivan from GIIS, then Natalie from Tampines Secondary, Shane from Eunoia, Steffi also from Tampines Secondary, Aaron also from GIIS, Kathleen from Hua Chong, Clayton from River Valley, Sharifa from Madrasah Al-Junaid Al-Islamiyah, Ataya from One World International School, Ria from GIIS, Weezan of NUS High, Shan from ACJC, Danya from Woodland Secondary, Kai, who is not with us, so we'll be watching a video, if I'm not wrong, who is from School of the Arts, Carrie from Nanyang JC, and to close us off, Ashlyn from ACJC. All right, all good? All right, soon the applause will be all yours. Ivan, you okay? Well, it's now or never. So our first reader for today is Vivan Khan Badri from GIIS PG Smart Campus. Vivan discovered his passion for poetry at the age of 11, inspired by his grandfather's love for the art. His poetic talent blossomed from this early influence, shaping his creative journey. It's always hard going first, but maybe we can all encourage Vivan as he shares his work with us today. Please give him a hand.
Hello, everyone. If everyone could please smile, that would be great. So, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Vivan, and as introduced by Jonathan, I'm from GIIS, class 9. I would like to present to all of you my poetic piece, The Greatest Illness of All. The greatest illness of all is one which shatters what once stood tall. It is when the world loses its colors, its vibrant hue, sending down our spines shudders. It leaves nothing true. The greatest illness doesn't originate from a normal body part, but from the humble abode of emotions, our very own heart. For it is truly concerning if the heart breaks, as a broken heart causes life to be at stake. It's truly an illness if our heart isn't compassionate about the things it loves and what it hates. We are our own enemies, our own protagonists. We are also our own cures from us, our own protagonists. So as I dig my pen deeper into this paper, I wish to clear this matter and set things straighter. I wish to inspire the oncoming youth to choose the path of content and truth. To be truthful with ourselves is what we seek, but can't achieve, for our hearts are timid and weak. It's later that we realize what we did wrong. It's later that we realize we should have kept our hearts strong. For it is a fact that a displaced heart disrupts mental peace and stability. For it is also a fact that disrupted peace is a direct attack at our tranquility. For peace is a virtue and boon meant to be handled with care, despite there being many looking upon us with disgust and despair. It's truly a weakness if we have no emotions. It's truly a weakness if we have no faults. It's truly a fault if we feel none of that. For it's truly a fault if our heart isn't a democrat. For our heart isn't one emotion, but rather many. It shouldn't be left to fend for itself. It needs the constant elixir of life. It needs our support. So let's not let it go dry. Let's fulfill its needs, its wants. Let us do so to avoid the gloomy day which upon us dawns. A heart that has lost its warmth, a heart that is cold and empty, is the greatest illness of all, and it's one we mustn't envy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vivan. Well done. It was such a piece filled with philosophical depth and deep yearning, and really splendidly done by Vivan as well. Our next reader is Natalie from Tampines Secondary School. Natalie Yeong is a current student of Tampines Secondary School and has been writing poetry since the age of 14. Her aspiration is to publish some of her poems in the future, a worthy aspiration indeed. And she'll be reading a poem for us titled Scars of Strength. Please join me in welcoming Natalie.
Test. Test. Okay, so my name is Natalie and I'm from Tampines Secondary School. And I'm actually kind of nervous about this, but I'm still gonna present you my poem. So the name of my poem is Scars of Strength. Sleepless nights and endless days of battles fought where wounds raised. Crimson red weaves through the raw, torment that rushes, a piercing claw. My skin rebels with red and rash, an endless, itching clash. Eczema's grip, a vicious embrace. Trapped in flare-ups, no solace to trace. The indelible marks ever persist. Chronic and cruel, shame I can't resist. Behind the treatments I endure is a girl who longs for a cure. Bound by embarrassed gazes, averted eyes, a veil of shame begins to rise. I dress to hide and delay the judgment that comes my way. Though shrouded in darkness, strength looms. In the shadows, courage blooms. The scars that linger shine with might. So does the beacon of light. An illness unbound, I stand tall, despite eczema's merciless thrall. Though its torment we cannot erase, in its embrace I find my grace. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. It took a lot of courage to share a poem like that. I think everyone is very appreciative, especially when dealing with an illness like eczema. It's very hard. But thank you for sharing the beautiful work that came out of that. So our next reader, Tan Yu Shane, is from Eunoia Junior College. Tan Yu Shane is a bilingual poet currently studying in Singapore. Her work has achieved a number of accolades, including awards in the National Poetry Competition and the National Translation Competition in Singapore. And her poem that she'll be reading for us is titled Lemon Strepsils. Please join me in welcoming Shane.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shane, and the prose poem I am presenting today is about being free from the restraints of a relationship. Please excuse my raspy voice as well because I just survived a concert last night. And please enjoy Lemon Strepsils. Lemon Strepsils. For once, you were taller than me, standing on the upper step of the escalator. We were strangled together and so close I could smell the pheromones of you, both of us young enough to hypothesize a future where you could outgrow our 7 cm difference in height. But now you're 17 and I'm still stuck here with a 16-year-old you. Yesterday night, I almost vomited the remnants out. I was hung half my body off the top tier of my bunk bed, gagging at it that was lodged in my throat. It burned like a cough drop, a really, really strong cough drop that makes your eyes water and leaves you tasting nothing but stevia for days, bitter and remembering. You always used to cough chronically, and I wonder how you're doing now. Have you coughed your lungs away, and have you finally finished the shrapsels I gave you? Did they work? The whole foods I spent my allowance on at cold storage, ginger and honey lemon, and I pretend it is medicine, recalling and remembering and never letting go. I imagine it was cathartic for you to be rid of the overly concerned mothering. You were even more feverish and shivering away from me when you couldn't cough on somebody, then leave me alone to develop antibodies. Eventually, I was finally able to digest the disgust. You finally free from me, and I finally free from your coughing. I hope you don't contaminate anyone else, but at the very least, I'm immune now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shane. Well done. Lemon strepsil is a wonderful remedy for a sore throat after a concert out, but also a very visceral poem. Another way, because lemon strepsils can go in, but they can also come out. So our next reader, Steffi from Tampines Secondary. Steffi Tan is currently a student of Tampines Secondary School and has been inspired to write poems after being introduced to poetry during her Secondary 1 literature class. She has been an aspiring artist since kindergarten and hopes to make an impact on the world with art. She'll be reading a poem for us titled The Circus Lion. Please join me in welcoming Steffi.
Hello. I had a lot of time restraint when writing this because I got notified last minute. But I really hope you guys like the poem as much as I did writing it. You strip away my identity, my dignity, my nature, my life, yet you keep clawing for more while I lay on your cold, hard concrete floor. You dare laugh a sickly scarlet, dissect me in half just to shoot me like a target. Put me under the spotlight to where I used to pride. Now nothing but a melting fright. I roared, flawed that you just sat there and stared, pretending to care, yet so unaware, pointing in the freak I now am. And all I can think, I am the one to blame. I am my own ringleader, yet I still play the game. Marks on the walls, reminders stung through my pulse, that I am too weak, too naive, thinking I could forget and leave, knowing that this is where I deserve to be. Let me rot, and knowing that I die alone or forgot, your waste of space, soon to be replaced. Or maybe, somehow, some way, if I just hung on for another day, I could break free from all that waste. One day, someone would see my dismay, take me away to a place where I can stay. That day, someone would say, "You're not the coward that flees. You're not the monster they made you out to be. You are more than the circus lion they'll see." Break away from where pain confined. To a new path I would find, for I am a circus lion, born to be fierce, untamed. These scars not signs of weak, but stories, not shame. Thank you.
Thank you, Steffi. Well done. Thank you again for that wonderful and uplifting poem. Think about the circus lion and how the image of the circus lion might change in our minds. Our next performer is Aaron Philip Mondrath, also from the GIIS PG Smart Campus. Aaron, a student at GIIS, possesses an unwavering passion for the art of poetry. For him, writing verses has transcended mere pastime. It's become an integral part of his being. Since the tender age of 12, he's poured his soul into crafting lines that evoke emotions and paint vivid landscapes of the heart. With nearly 2 volumes of poetry under his belt, Aaron steps into the realm of a poetry competition for the first time, eager to share his work with all of you. Aaron's poem is titled dichotomous white. Please join me in welcoming Aaron.
Hello, everyone, and esteemed judges here. I'm Aaron, and I'm very privileged to share with you my piece titled Dichotomous White. With skin like bleached ivory, where warmth once bloomed, a leper's curse, a lonely heart entombed, aching bones that mimic memories of flight, banished from the sun, a pariah of light. Faces twist in fear, a plague upon the wind. Unclean they shriek, a truth that cuts within. Laughter, once a symphony so sweet, now mocks my silent steps, a rhythm incomplete. Hope's fragile wings, like frost upon the pane, melt in the bitter tears of endless gnawing pain. Mirrors cast a stranger, etched with scars unseen, a hollow shell remains where life once had been keen. But hark, a whisper soft, a touch upon my brow, a voice that breaks the silence, a gentle woe. No revulsion flickers, just eyes that hold the sky. Within, he murmurs low, a secret, sacred flame. The spirit burns untarnished, whispers of your name. A warmth unfurls like dawn, washing sorrow clean. In shared humanity, a love divinely keen. Though lepers walk a path where shadows creep, God's hand descends, a promise whispered deep. For in the crucible of pain, faith finds its birth, a leper's heart, ablaze with love that conquers the earth. This weary flesh may crumble, fade like desert sand, but in the soul's embrace, a love forever planned. Like Rumi's whirling dervishes, we spin and yearn to merge with the divine where every heart can burn unbound. Thank you.
Well done, Aaron. Really, really lovely scansion and cadences there. And the image of the whirling dervish, very, very evocative. So our next reader is Kathleen Ong from Hwa Chong Institution. Kathleen is a year 5 student from Hwa Chong Institution who has been writing for about 3 years. This will be her second time participating in Write and Burn, so welcome back, Kathleen. And she'll be reading a poem titled Ciritc, meaning yellow in Hokkien. So please join me in welcoming Kathleen.
Hi. Hi. Okay, hi, I'm Kathleen. Yes, I'm turning 17 this year, and I'm reading a poem called Ciritc. So it's actually dedicated to my mother who's in the audience. So without further ado, Ciritc. Your callous, brittle hands caress my face. Skin color blended into a similar yellow, reminding me of the egg yolk in fried rice. You'd satisfactorily look on as I wolf down servings of it. Also knowing of how the world was spinning when you looked at food. If you ingested anything really, it came out yellowed, the liquid tracing our bedroom floor by night. Every week, they pumped yellow through your veined wrists. I tell my teachers that you were waiting for me at Tan Tok Sing, that you stand longer than the yellows at the Turban Rebellion. Their eyes were yellow with tears, only knowing how to show guilt for a 9-year-old mother's pain. I'm so tired. Sweeping the fallen hair, you answered calls pouring like gold from all around Singapore about the slow recovery. It was freezing without the sun. No one could comprehend being diagnosed at 45. No one could hear your thoughts. The dilemma in your mind, moving akin to the speed in frying rice. This rang particularly true in a stage 3 type of treatment. Not to ever wipe off the memory of that year's Christmas celebration in the radiotherapy room, blinded by yellow lights. But one day, yellow tears fell down your cheeks, not for sorrow or endless pain, but for Ciritc. The now returned color in your face, the yellow talisman in water which you were fed, the yellow cream for the broken skin, yellow hat you'd wear to conceal your body. Despite the Mount Everest plaguing your path, the dust colored by the jaundiced yellow, you scaled, following the insect inside. Because of you, I learned how to face the yellows in the sun and its rays, the insect in daily life. Thank you for stepping over the yellow fires, for lighting up your torch and passing it down to me.
Well done, Kathleen. Many, many shades, the spectrum of yellow, not just through her lines and her images, but also through her outfit. Very, very nice yellow outfit, down to her socks. So go up and compliment Kathleen on her yellow outfit later on. Thank you again, Kathleen. Our next performer is Tan Ziheng Clayton from River Valley High School. Clayton is currently a student in River Valley High School and has only started writing poetry recently. Love that there are lots of performers with us who have started writing poetry recently and now have been inducted into this strange, mysterious guild. We can only look forward to more poetry from them as time goes on. So Clayton will be sharing a poem with us titled Cathedral of Life. Please welcome Clayton.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Clayton from River Valley High School. A beam of light, a life full of fight. Walk up the cobblestone stairs, through marble doorway and mahogany doors, an ostentatious escape from the past. But will all this last? Shower of light, bask it in glory, as it walks through the divine arches that so many before it walked, and imagine the fury as black, viscous liquid seeped in, defiling this holy shrine. But as it spreads, will you remember your parents' rhyme so fine? Or will the bling entice you once more to continue to write this twisted line and forget about your family's rhyme? The smell of warm like time. Or will you perhaps slow down, even if the world would frown? Will you stop the midnight bell's toll? Will you evade the sight of death? Will you chart a new course and follow through with force? Will you let yourself embrace the light once more and allow the light to embrace you like before? Thank you.
Thank you, Clayton. Well done. A really rich and sensuous poem filled with lots of lovely images of light. So I'd like to introduce our next performer, Sharifa binti Basri from Madrasah Al-Junaid Al-Islamiyah. Sharifa is a 19-year-old writer who enjoys writing realistic fiction and free verse. She has written her own poetry collection titled This Journey Never Ends, and today she'll be reading a poem for us titled They Don't Know What It's Like. Please join me in welcoming Sharifa.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Sharifa, and today I'll be reading my poem titled They Don't Know What It's Like. I have a burn in my throat and a knife permanently lodged in my ribcage. It pulses every time I move, so I cannot quite do anything to fight for my case. I am sick and closer to death than I have ever been, but they tell me I am faking it, as if I do not know what it means to hurt and bruise and bleed. So I straighten up and keep all my feelings in a vial labeled as phantom pain. They told me I brought it upon myself, blamed it all on stress as if I needed to hear that. They don't see a reason to care if they cannot see the scars. But I wish I could rip my heart open and show them snippets of all the times they never saw. Like how I coughed up blood the last time I checked. The blood so dark, so thick that I couldn't remove its stains from the sink. Or when even breathing felt like my lungs were shattering and my muscles would ache from the stress of existing. I tell them I am fine because they call my pleas all a pretense. See, when their words started stabbing me, leaving wounds on my paper-thin skin that refused to heal. I found myself bounded by their words, their stares, their disappointment. They called me ashamed for having fallen so fast. I was so close to the height of my success before it all started to crash. So now, I am only realizing how much time has passed. There is a knife still in my ribcage, and it always gets harder to breathe without their words constricting my throat. But I will put a name to my illness and honor my pain and scars. I will throw up my vow of phantom pain and replace it with raw emotions and suffering. If no one will, then I will care for myself, and I will find all the help I need, even if I have to do it alone, even if they tell me don't, even if it is sacrificial. And I will tell my story in my very own way, and my Lord will tell me that it will all be okay. And I will not need any of their sympathy, their words, nor their grace. Maybe in that, I will find someone willing to care, if only I be patient and never let their words get to my head. Thank you.
Well done. Well done, Sharifa, on that really, really wonderful reading. And I think all of us could do with a little bit more compassion and extend more understanding toward one another. And those of us who need compassion, we can also be in a position to give compassion to those around us who need it. Thank you for that reminder. Our next reader is Ataya Sharifa Anargya from One World International School. Ataya is currently a first-year IB student at One World International School with an Indonesian background. She has an interest in poetry and creative writing, with one of her biggest inspirations being Sylvia Plath. Ataya has dabbled in poetry and creative writing in the past, winning several school-wide competitions during her childhood spent in Indonesia. One of Ataya's aims in life is to one day publish a collection of poems written by her, and I'm sure all of us in this room are looking forward to the many collections that will come out of this group of performers today. So, Ataya will be reading a poem for us titled Sang Prabu. Please welcome Ataya.
Wow, that's hard. Okay, so this poem is one that I wrote in honor of my grandfather. It's bilingual, so I'm sorry for that. But yeah. Senja teduh pelita, in the midst of a hurricane, you held me, shielding from the world, nada-nada gamelan hiraukan. Sanctum of hope, savior of the damned, ingatlah kenangan Jogja, when winds howled your name and soil trickled onto cotton. Ceritakan kisah-kisahmu padaku, before the fall of Javan rain. O mighty Mataram, your kingdom has fallen. There is nothing left but a single stain of what once was. Ie kabare, tell me what it is you can see, what you can feel, or what you hear. Lalu datanglah hujan, under the deep set moon. I hear them cry, he left too soon. Then with the spell of Ratu Kidul, Puno kawan, you fool, you wore the green and succumbed to a new rule. Thank you.
Well done. Terima kasih banyak, Ataya. Thank you very much for that wonderful and honest poem. Our next speaker, our next performer for all of you this afternoon is Ria Mehta from Global Indian International School PG Smart Campus. Very well represented today, GIIS. Ria is a firm believer of Oliver Wendell Holmes' quote, "All limitations are self-imposed." She is an avid writer who seeks inspiration from life experiences and the world around her. She has already written over 115 poems and can't wait to publish them. And before I invite Ria up, I should add, made a mistake. The theme for today is not Fear Unbound, but it is Illness Unbound. But so often illness and fear come together, and also ways of overcoming the fear that arises from illness. So now I'd like to welcome Ria to perform her poem, Flowers Die, Don't They? Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Riya Mehta, and today I will be reciting my poem, Flowers Die, Don't They? I am ill, and guess what? So are you. I was too once unaware and had no clue. But there are always signs, at least a few. It's a disastrous modern day plague of always wanting more, constantly replacing, restructuring, renewing, because the old now seems to bore, unable to feel the air in which we fly, because we're too busy trying to soar. The disease struck me when I bought the flowers of contentment. Calm, serene colors of white filled their every inch and dent. I believed no matter what happened, those florals I could never resent. But soon a new flower had caught my eye. It wanted me to become selfish, shallow, and sly. I would crave to hold it every time I walked by. Its amber green, jealousy filled dye was the culprit that caused my contentment flowers to untimely die. In search for more, I had lost both my mind and way. The glimmering greens made me forget the old flowers in a day. Through suffering for my actions fueled by greed, I must now pay. The illness lay below the petals and colors so vivid. I touched the thorns which could make one livid. I was too young to know it then, too timid. On self-satisfaction, as soon as I let loose my grip, in my heart's cracks, the illness of discontent found its way to slip. Tears of sorrow and disdain had sunk my once striding ship. Ladies and gentlemen, between the lines, if you could read, assess you might that green was the flower of greed, the one which planted envy and its seed. Discontent is a disease that shatters us from within. It makes us go with envy's every whim. It makes the world around us a little more darker, a little more dim. Discontent is an illness that goes unseen. The chances of escaping it are thin and lean. It makes even the kindest of souls become monsters, so very mean. We humans are known to justify our losses in every possible way, have 100 reasons of why happy with what we have, we cannot stay. Don't you see how to keep the guilt of killing our contentment flowers at bay? We nonchalantly find ourselves say, after all, flowers die, don't they? Thank you.
Thank you, Ria. That spirited performance. Really, a wonderful array of styles and approaches from our various readers today. I'd like to now introduce our next reader, Neo Weezhen from NUS High School of Mathematics and Science. Weezhen is a Year 5 student from NUS High School who believes that poetry can serve as a medium not just for escapism, but as a means of approaching personal, political, social, and psychological topics and expressing said ideas to the world. And he'll be performing a poem for us titled Ashen. Please welcome Weezhen.
Hi, my name is Weezhen. Yeah, this poem is about smoking. The first part is about a family, like a family member, and the second part is about my father. Yeah. Only eyes, skull sunk skin. Hue takes its leave. Life took his breath away. Pipes pushed it back. With barely legs, arms, face, chest left to give, waste away. Days do not pass. They latch on every body part left. Family grieved. Loved final moments, hated final gasps. The cancer had spread, unbound from his lungs. Pain dissolved into the water they drink. Throat clogged, taste buds muted, dry mouth, limp tongue, and every word sputtered out, tar thick ink. They moved on, but his stock image has clung onto me stubbornly. All I can think of sometimes, it's on sight when my daddy sucks on his murder stick like a lollipop. Trivial, treats it like routine, child's play, every day and time to crank up and unwind. Pack a day like light work from a day of heavy rest. I thought it was all smoke, a Chekhov's gun ready to blow. His relief is my adrenaline. I thought I saw his red skin turn white, cough like a popcorn machine, green dread. When he bluffs, he's clean. Puffs of a ghost in him, like a seance scene. And if he coughs, he knows my drill. My please stop! Lift, then drop, like blood clots. He's heard it before. Same irritation, nasal or facial, same sentence. He's stressed, strained. Life is pain, stony eyes. He knows I'll let the words drop, dry up. He might as well be lies. Smoke chokes him less than my cries. The living room, his ICU, bound to his pipes, strung together by chemical air. But nicotine took his breath away, and nicotine brings it back. His desperation medication, like breathing razor blades, kills a week to pass a day. Thank you.
Thank you, Reason. Very, very powerful, very, very emotive poem. And, we're at Write and Burn. Hopefully we're not burning any cigarettes today. Our next performer is Shan Rai from Anglo-Chinese Junior College. Shan is a J2 student in ACJC, and he'll be performing a poem titled A Life to Remember. Please join me in welcoming Shan.
Hi, my name is Shan Rai. I'm going to present a poem called A Life to Remember, just like Jonathan said. When I was younger and started to cram, I got much smarter and aced my exams. When I was younger and looked like a blob, I made efforts to be slimmer and got a successful job. When I was younger, I kept walking through life. I got really lucky and married my wife. But that night to remember, that night with flashes of terror. Now I'm old and think back on my life. Now I'm old, but I was never ridden with strife. I got smarter and aced my exams. I got slimmer and got a successful job. But that night, a night to remember, looking down at the flashing lights in the cold of December. My thoughts are blurry, my mind in error. I don't recognize who I see in the mirror. When I was younger, downing can after can, I tried to be smarter, but barely passed my exams. When I was younger and took a couple of dives, I lost a few kilograms, but I worked a 9 to 5. When I was younger, I got older, which I didn't intend, stepping down from that ledge into the arms of my girlfriend. But that night, a night to remember, that night with promises exchanged, that night I don't remember. My wife. Where's my wife? Dad. An unfamiliar voice calls out, in a tone adamant yet tired, standing by the open door. Was he a cleaner I hired? Dad. He says again, is that my name? Why don't I remember? Why do things not look the same? Let's go, he says, walking me to our car. Our car? Whose car? I don't drive, but I don't oppose his request. There was something important I needed to do, somewhere I needed to go, a reason for the way I was dressed. A graveyard, my wife's name engraved on a tomb. Who is this man? What do I do? I stand there, muted, laying flowers on the grave. I stand there, motionless, brainstorming how I could save her. As we walked back to the car and sat down in strife, I turned to my son and asked him, where's my wife?
Thank you, Shan. So, a lot of us, when we were younger, I don't think we intended to get older as well. And yet, here we all are. Cherish your youth. Anyway, I'd like to introduce our next speaker and offer an apology. I think I mispronounced or read out the wrong part of her name. Danya Shasmin Banu binti Muhammad Nazir will be performing a poem for us. Shasmin is a student of Woodland Secondary School and has been writing poems and short stories for 4 years. Her aspiration is to become a preschool teacher. She's also an avid reader of novels such as Pride and Prejudice and Little Women. And after a family incident, Shasmin began writing poems on her life to overcome her fear, particularly the loss of her loved ones. So here again, fear and illness coincide. She'll be performing a poem for us titled Time. Please join me in welcoming Shasmin.
Good afternoon. My name is Shasmin. I'll be performing my poem called Time. I like to say that this is a tribute to my younger self who was really battling depression after I lost my friend to suicide. Time. It was 2 a.m. in my chilly bed. The argument between my parents kept me restless. As I heard my name being screamed, I knew my fate was decided regardless. Even though it was my life, others were running it for me. It was 8 a.m. on my hard chair. My teacher was feeding nonsense into my head. My classmates were chattering on without a care. Everyone here felt like strangers to me. There's so many people, but I was still alone. It was 12 p.m. on the school benches. I had no appetite to eat without him. It was a time for joy, a time to relax. To me, it was forced conversations with teachers. No one could ever understand me, my pain, my suffering. It was 3 p.m. on the couch. My homework lay on the table. I couldn't find the strength to finish it. I just sat there thinking about him. As I grew up, I realized reality is cruel. It was 9 p.m. at the dinner table. The waterworks washed over me. Why did they take him away from me? What did I do to deserve this? I wouldn't wish this life on my worst enemy. It was 2 a.m. on the hospital bed. The beeping of the machines kept me awake. As I heard the doctors whispering to my parents, my worst fears were confirmed. Even though it was my life, others were running it for me. It was 8 a.m. on the hospital bed. My worksheets were spread around me. I was left alone to fend for my education, but I wanted to leave a legacy before I left. There's so many people, but I was still alone. It was 12 p.m. on the hospital bed. Lunch was served in a bag. With the machines as my friends, I watched as the tube gave me sustenance. No one could understand me, my pain, my suffering. It was 3 p.m. on the hospital bed. A pile of medicines lay on the table. I grew tired of them a long time ago. After all these years, nothing has changed. As I grew up, I realized reality is cruel. It was 9 p.m. on the hospital bed. I knew this day would be one of my last. The wedding that I once dreamed of would soon be replaced by death. I wouldn't wish this life on my worst enemy. Thank you.
Thank you, Shasmin. Really, really powerful recitation, and also an indication that sometimes some of the most moving, powerful performances can come through in almost a whisper. So our next reader is Zhang Kaiyu from School of the Arts. Kaiyu is not physically in attendance today, so we'll be screening a video of her. Kaiyu is currently a student studying at School of the Arts, Singapore, and has had a passion for writing since the age of 9. She wishes to understand and become better at poetry. And she, or rather her virtual persona, will be performing a poem for us titled Infection. If you want to applaud or not for the video, please go ahead. Thank you.
The monster is back. It turns its big, slimy head towards you and growls, and you want to rip it apart like you tried to do to everyone that day. You remember your fingernails being dirty. You had to wash your hair that day. It's not infectious, so you can ignore the one in the mirror too. You can feel the monster build in your chest, ready to burst, but they did a physical examination and they said that nothing was wrong. But it's written all over your paper. You peeped at it once. Patient is severely distressed. Bad condition. Best to restrain at once. The first thought you had was that they said that it wasn't infectious. They haul you into a room, tell you that it's all witchcraft, that they'll expel that monster. You don't know how to tell them that their spells won't work, that you've tried it since you were 8 and abracadabra won't kill the ugly beast. But they stick their thin, dangly tubes into your arms and you scream. It's not infectious, but you know they doubt that themselves. Now you're a ticking time bomb and they push you inside, keep you at bay, and you claw at the white walls, tear down thick fabric. 10, 9, 8, 7 is the mantra in your head, alongside the constant, nagging reminder that the monster is waiting patiently to break free, that this white room isn't going to hold you much longer, that you long to be rid of this infection. 7, 6, 5, 4, your hands are not stained, you are not ill. Yet you can feel it underneath your skin, that sickly smell of wrongness, even as you look at your face in the mirror and see nothing wrong with it, but the monster in it. 3, your voice raises alongside theirs. Their fists are curled and they look scared of you, but what is there to be scared of? It's not infectious, they said. 2, it's just you, the monster, and that sole point of singularity now. Nobody can chain you down now. 1, there is no burst of light nor explosion of sound. 0, the blast hits, but no one can hear it except for you. The grass is green outside that room. The sun roars. The horsetails sway in the steady wind. The crickets chirp again, but the once familiar ache doesn't appear. You hold your hands out in front of you, and the sharp talons, cutting shadows, don't appear anymore. You're free now, so run like you've never been shackled before. Thank you.
All right. We thank Kai for sending in her video recording of her performance, even though she can't be with us today. Maybe we can also have a round of applause for our intrepid projectionists and the AV team who've been helping to keep everything going. So thank you very much. Now, our next speaker is Carrie Tan from Nanyang Junior College. Carrie is a passionate individual as well as an aspiring poet. She is looking forward to taking part in the creative arts program this year, which I hear is next week. And her hobbies include listening to indie musicians such as Clario, Boy Genius, or Matt Maltese. She also enjoys watching films in her free time, which she finds the most comfort in as an escape from her everyday realities. And she will be reading a poem for us titled The Lost Memories Recalled Upon by the Stars. Please join me in welcoming Carrie.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. So today I'll be reading to you my poem, The Lost Memories Recalled by the Stars. A brief summary of this poem, it's about love, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's. So, yeah. Okay. Season of youth, frozen in time. The whispering of the wind whistles melodies under the figs of the trees. They hum the chords of secrets, those that only the oracle would have been acquainted with. The Apollo radiates from the glow of his genial sun, its rays heavenly, luminous, liberating. We worship them like astrology, dipping quill ink to scotch the palm lines in our hands, to weave the stitch of our lives into the history of fate. Twixt waves she sails gently across golden sands, like shimmering, sparkling like transient twinkles in serene seas. Fading dunes shuffle up the hill with slippery footsteps. Sapphires glowed in your eyes, blue and bright. The summer we were alive for the first time, or maybe it was the last, whenever it was. I can't remember. The tombstone, weary with grief. The old memory of sweet nothings simmering from your parched, cracked lips, the soul of your name engraved in the rocks, the only thing left behind. Sometimes I hold tight to the cold hard surface, begging to remember the sight of your face, the scent of your honeyed hands, warm, like the blood throbbing through your veins. My hands tremble for your touch, arms left shivering as the image of you cracks, then shatters, claps onto the air, only to collapse onto my knees. The shield, battered and bruised with blood. With bare hands, I swing your spear in circles, softly it slashes my spine, leaves cuts on my thighs, coagulates blood on my arms. I watch as red spurts from the wounds, cascading down the drain beneath my feet, filling with rot. Did my limbs forget how to soar, or have they ever flown before? Black holes burn their way into the sockets of my skull, voids of knowledge once brimming with light. Slowly your voice dissolves into a sea of strangers drifting in the afterlife. Slowly gold turns to bronze. I graze my fingers over the dust, swallowing these possessions. Tell myself I won't forget. The fragmented faces, melting in agony. My heart is a haphazard mosaic of misplaced pieces, a fractured shell of what it used to be. Here lies arteries who are foreigners to flow. I stare at my reflection in the waves, the wind washing the fishnets whirling within. Hold the remnants of my soft skin, for I'm not sure if anyone did. Clench it, claw it, till velvet becomes sandpaper. Observe as patches of blue wilt to black, as memories and muscles fall like jigsaw puzzles out of place. Leave them as love possessions lost, broken objects relinquished to the landfill of grief. You hold funerals every day, someone asked today when I tried to smile at them. I answered, who for? The objects that lie before me. Here lies a tombstone, a bloody shield and spear. I wonder about the origin. The seasons are shifting, substituting new faces with old ones I don't recognize. My eyes kiss the sight of a starry night. Amongst the constellations I see an iris, blue, bold, daring. I wonder if it is mine. Gold is leaking from the skies tonight. The stars sparkle, shimmering, like flecks of sand on a timeless beach. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you much. Thank you very much, Carrie, for that really lush poem. Our final presenter to close out our competition today will be Ashlyn Chan Lati from Anglo-Chinese Junior College. Ashlyn Chan is currently a student at ACJC. She has gained lots of experience in various fields, not only through school, but also through volunteering at various places. She is highly involved in the GRIT project and Tiong Bahru Youth Network activities and is an official member of the Youth Core Engagement Task Force. She is also a member of the Eagles Interact Club. She enjoys volunteering and is especially passionate about serving people with mental illnesses, people with disabilities, the elderly, and young children within her community. And she'll be performing a poem for us today titled A Dancer's Dream. Please join me in welcoming our final performer.
Test. Hi. So, in case you can't tell, that bio that he said of me was adapted from my LinkedIn. Basic context of my poem is based off a life experience of myself. After I got hit by a car last year, you can laugh; it's pretty funny. But this poem basically reflects how I continued to follow my passions in dancing even after being hit by the car. In a studio filled with mirrors and light, I dance defying the night. Experience and emotions take over my energy as my movement formed a graceful symphony. Yet fate, with a cruel twist, touched me with an unseen fist. A shadow fell on my vibrant flame, a childhood dream now intertwined with pain. My body feels frail and weak. My blood runs thin. I'm sick. In one wreckage, I live. But the car that hit me killed my dreams. Yet my spirit burns with fierce decree. I dance with a broken knee. My body weakened, my spirit strong. All I want is to dance along. My arm was broken. I could barely bend it. But this wasn't the end. I knew I could do it. Days I struggled and nights I prayed. With each breath, my body obeyed. A pirouette against the sun, a grand battement à la seconde. I danced through tears, through every ache, for dreams that neither pain nor fear could break. The doctor's words a heavy weight, yet my dreams refused to dissipate. My limbs may tremble, pale, and weak, but in my eyes determination speak. On stage, under the blinding light, I will soar like a phoenix in flight. In twilight hours when hope seems thin, I hear the music deep within, a melody that fuels my skin and whispers, this is where you begin. My dance is not just flesh and bone, but it's soul and will, a life of its own. Each movement now a silent tone of battles fought and courage shown. The crowd, they gasped, they cheered for a girl who conquered all that she feared. Her illness now a distant haze, her spirit free in endless race. I bow and I stand. I stand for those who can no longer stand. A dancer's dream beyond compare. Against all odds, I'm dancing there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashlyn. And thank you again to all of our performers. Can we please give them another round of applause? It takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery to come up here and read poems that are very personal, that are really drawn from their lives. Thank you all for your patience. We are now going to enter a 5-minute intermission. Some of the panelists, I think, will be scurrying off to the bathroom. They've been holding it for a while. And if you'd like to have a look at the rest of the library, the biodiversity library, please feel free. We'll see you back here in 5 minutes. Thank you.
know what is this. So just talk like this can.
You guys know.
Hello, hello. Very excited to announce the results. I've been asked to be a feature for this afternoon. So I'm going to be reading two poems that are on theme for, illness unbound. The first poem I'll read from my book. The other poem is not in my book, and I'll share a little bit more, as some of our contestants have done about both poems. So the first poem is titled Learning to Love in a Pandemic. It's a common memory that we all share now. I'm sure each of us has, very intense memories from that period, especially for our performers who, might have been much younger, secondary school, primary school, when the COVID restrictions hit. At the time, I was a university student, and I had to fly back to Singapore from the UK. Later on, I was involved in volunteering, providing and dispersing aid to migrant workers. And it was kind of the totality of that experience that, manifested, turned into this particular poem. So hope you enjoy it. Learning to love in a pandemic looks like a mask worn, taut over the face, on the train, then on a flight, all of 10,000 kilometers to eat dinner in a separate room from your family. Like the growing familiarity of faces flattened and stacked against darkened windows, like the savoring of beauty in a film you haven't seen, voices sharing in wonder, in bemusement. It looks like 2 cups of peach tea hung on the spikes of a metal gate, like bundles of laddu and instant coffee ferried across an island, like walking away from a chance to sing for fear of invisible symptoms, like 2 weeks in a service apartment spent learning each day to share a shrinking space. It looks like the breaking of the air, drawn in deeper breaths, expanding in the caverns of unencumbered presence. That's the poem. Thank you. So the next poem I'll be reading for you is titled Homage. It's inspired by the Chinese-American poet Li Yang, who wrote a poem reflecting on his relationship with his father. And this poem is about my relationship with my grandfather. So for a little bit of background information, my father's side of the family is Malaysian Chinese, but they migrated to the US and they settled in Houston in Texas. So growing up while I was here, when the opportunities availed themselves, my family would make the long trip over to Texas. And over the years, my grandfather actually contracted throat cancer that resulted in him needing to be intubated and having a hole carved in his neck. And so I have very visceral memories of my grandfather sitting in his chair, being fed by a tube because he could no longer swallow. And, it was, the severity of it was to the extent that even today, I can't remember how his voice sounds. I only remember the hoarseness and the croaking and, how that would deteriorate every time we made the long journey back to Texas, maybe once a year or, every 2 years. And so he passed about 13 years ago. And I ended up writing this poem on account of a dream that my grandmother had where she imagined his voice calling out from his room. So this is a poem inspired by that particular experience. Homage, Houston, Texas, after Li Yang. I was tired, so I laid my head. I was summoned, so I rose from my bed. His voice rang from the room at the end of the hallway. His voice rang from the music he played. His organ and accordion remained hidden in their cases. Just as his voice rang from the music he played in a quartet riding across the Malayan Peninsula, proclamations over motorcycles from sea to shining sea. Just as it rang with volume, with vigor, stern and strong, firm, unrelenting, or that was how I dreamt it to be, as is all hardened fathers sound, as is how all hardened fathers sound, until the tubing was laid through his neck to his stomach, a blockage of plastic, of phlegm. This morning, Mama remembers a dream. She remembers it as we ladle our porridge. She remembers how he was in the other room, body laid against his armchair, breaths labored and slow, and how he knew he was being spoken of, and how she had heard his voice in the other room, how his presence was diffuse like light, how his presence rushed like water. We go to his grave on Black Friday. White flowers mark a November birthday. White flowers mark 10 years past. White flowers rest in his plot. My nephew asks if he is in heaven. My father says it's been a while since we've seen him. My cousin strolls by the fountain, gushing for the bereaved. His son waddles through his arms. The tombs of the wealthy are beside the lake. The tombs beside his are incomplete. Their engravings are yet to be etched. I was tired, so I laid my head. I was waiting, so I could remember how he used to call my name. Thank you very much. Those are two poems. My book is available in the library if it's of interest, and same can be said for all the writers who are here. Their books are available in the library, so if you'd like to speak with them or be directed to where you can find their work, you can please feel free to approach them after. Without further ado, I'd like to invite, actually no, let me introduce the judges first, our esteemed 3 judges. Desmond Con, Zhicheng, Mingde, please raise your hand, Mr. Con. Desmond Francis Xavier Con Zhicheng Mingde, born 1971, is the author of an epistolary novel, a quasi-memoir, 2 lyric essay monographs, 4 hybrid works, 9 poetry collections, and a creative guided journal. So it's a very, very modest output. A former journalist, he has edited more than 20 books and co-produced 3 audiobooks. Trained in publishing at Stanford University, Desmond holds a World Religions Master's from Harvard University and Creative Writing Master's from the University of Notre Dame. Among other accolades, he is the recipient of the IBPA Benjamin Franklin Award, Singapore Literature Prize, Poetry World Cup, 2 Illumination Christian Book Awards, 2 Independent Publisher Book Awards, and 5 Living Now Book Awards. So, again, a modest list of accomplishments as well. An inspiration to us all, and Desmond currently teaches creative writing at Nanyang Technological University. Let's thank Desmond for coming to serve as a judge. Our next judge, Shilpa Dikshit Thapliyal. Shilpa is a former computer professional turned bilingual poet from Singapore. So let that be an inspiration for all of us here. Poetry finds its way to us, regardless of where we might be in life or what we might be doing. And she's the author of 2 poetry collections. She is also a Best of the Net and Pushcart Prize nominee and was awarded 2nd place in the Letter Review Prize for Poetry in 2022. Her poems can be found in Prata Journal, Quarterly Literary Review Singapore, To Let the Light In, Letter Review, The Best Asian Poetry 2021, Yearbook of Indian Poetry in English, and elsewhere. Again, her modest output. Some of her poems have been translated into Japanese, Chinese art, and Spanish. Shilpa serves on the steering committee of the Poetry Festival of Singapore as a writer and literary organizer, and she was on the panel of judges for the National Poetry Competition, the Write and Burn Spoken Word Competition, which she has graciously agreed to judge today, again, and National Poetry Recitation Competition. So let's show appreciation for Shilpa. And our final judge, who will be coming up to deliver comments in a brief moment, is Yeong Kit. Yeong Kit is an educator and editor of 4 poetry anthologies, a recipient of the Outstanding Youth in Education Award by the Ministry of Education. He holds a master's degree in English from University College London and has served as a judge of the National Poetry Competition Singapore and now the Write and Burn Spoken Word Competition. So please join me in showing your appreciation for Kit as he comes to share his comments. Our chief judge.
Thank you, Jonathan. So delighted to see everyone, and thank you, Jonathan, organizers, judges, right? And thank you for, as we say, right, arrowing me to be the chief judge, yes, yet again. So delighted to witness all your performances. It's really, I mean, if you think about it, right, to have the courage to come up here and to be able to speak like this on this platform, right, is already a significant achievement in itself. You're all finalists, right, and the quality of your works really speaks for itself. So please do give yourself a big round of applause. Now, I've been asked to give detailed feedback, right? So would you like, yes, no holds barred feedback, right? Then something that might, we thought should be encouraging and yet also helpful in terms of how we improve our craft in future, right? And we see all this as fellow practitioners and in the process, in that sense. So in fact, we were looking at the theme, right, of illness unbound, right? And at first I was wondering to Dr. Eric Vallis, right, why do we afflict this theme on all our participants, right? It's almost as if we are encouraging, you know, this kind of introspection it shows we've got a lot of trauma to unpack, right? We think about it. It's very strange. And may I suggest that you all also join our event called Catharsis, because clearly we need it, right, in that sense. I'm reminded of, you know, the quotation by Roger McGuff, if you recall the poet, and what he said was, every day I think about dying, right? About disease, starvation, violence, trauma, terrorism, war, the end of the world, right? Because it helps to keep my mind off things, right? So in that spirit, I'm sure we've had the opportunity to hear from all our finalists about really very complex and very difficult subjects, if I may say so, right? And we all agreed, I mean, from subjects that were very visceral, very raw in that sense. So, and it's, I mean, of course, the physical afflictions, like if we think about it, I mean, and you've spoken about, sort of, like there was the instance of eczema or obesity or other kinds of conditions, or for example, mental illnesses, right? So all of that's really heavy stuff, right? But one thing we really noted is that whatever you wrote suddenly doesn't sound like it was churned out by ChatGPT, right? Yeah, it was authentic. It was true, and that's really important. It was true to experience, and that's something the reader or the audience can tell. And so if we think about how this is, just to clarify, right, it is a poetry performance competition. So what that means, of course, is that poetry is part of an oral tradition, and that meant that your performances were judged precisely as that, as performances, not merely on the page, but on the stage. So that oral element, that engagement with the audience, that eye contact, that attention to stage presence is going to be quite crucial, right? And that's why, right, we were very professional, as always. We stuck to our marking rubrics, and then we had our standardization meeting. I'm using teacher speak here, right, because we've been teaching for a while. So, of course, we have all these categories, so we must delineate this for you to show how carefully we thought this through. Okay, so firstly, of course, was the sense of form, right? So in terms of control over form, meaning that even when you send it in, right, to the judges, meaning when you send your pieces in, how the lineation of your text matters, because it shows whether or not you've paid attention to where the next line should be. Should it be in stanzas? Is it in rhyming verse? Why is it in rhyming verse as opposed to free verse? So all of that is crucial because it's going to signal certain kinds of authorial intention of writer's craft, in other words. So let's pay attention to that, right? And that's why were the pieces signaling the ability to engender the intended effect, right? That mature style that impresses the reader. So first is the reader, because your judges, like all of us, they are going to be readers when they read your poem first. And then we see the spoken performance, right? And then another category was precision with language. So this was when we were looking at the writing, the quality of the figurative language use, right? Whether or not we are looking at the appropriate and precise vocabulary to articulate the very terms we are trying to depict, that preferably we should be, of course, showing and not telling. So it's just like what your English teachers would have emphasized, right, in descriptive writing class, except that this time we are really pouring our emotions into verse. So that kind of attention is important. Is there that sophisticated and confident use of language, right, that shows that creative flair? So it shouldn't sound cliched in that sense. Again, something Cyril Wong said that really struck me once, right? That if your poem sounds like the phrase or turn of phrase sounds like it's too quick, a click of the box. You know, like those clicking boxes where you click it and it just clicks shut. Sometimes words sound like that. And if the phrase you're using clicks too quickly, you know there's something wrong, right? Because it means there is a cliche right there. And you need to pay attention to that. You need to rework it, right? In that sense of it. So paying attention to that is going to be important. Originality of thought was another category. So are there insightful, original ideas with that kind of elaboration? Some of the pieces were strong, but they were short. And so there's not enough to judge. And it is, in terms of parity, it's going to look very strange if they're going to be on the same platform. It's like apples and oranges, right? Because all the videos are going to be showcased, right? It's going to be, when you look back at it, it's like saying you want to compare a ballad with a haiku. No, yeah, you can't. It's just very, yeah, it's going to look odd in that sense, yeah? So bearing that in mind is important, which means that yes, it is the quality rather than quantity that matters, but still you need enough quantity to show quality, yeah? Right, in that sense. Okay, and then the fourth and final category that is supremely important, and which all our judges, we were really surprised as well by certain performances. And this is the category of showmanship, all right? That conviction, that sincerity, that performance, how you engage the audience effectively. Is there passion for the topic? And your audience can tell. Because you are looking them in the eye, you are showing that you are deeply engaged, your heart is in the words, right? And that's crucial. So how do we signal this? We noticed some performers, some finalists took that effort, for instance, to maintain the eye contact. This means preparation. And so there were some performers who learned the text by heart. It was obvious in that sense. And we would like to give you due credit for that, right? Because, and for those who were still reading, that's okay. It doesn't mean you have to memorize everything, right? Because it's a good to have, it's a good bonus, right? But even if you're reading from your phone, there is a way to do it. Right? So you notice, even when you're looking at at your peers' performances, right? When you're reading off the phone, is there a kind of engagement through the tenor of your voice, through the presence of your gait, through the means by which you look an audience in the eye and they can feel the very emotions that you felt because you were there and they are now here with you. You know, there is power in that presence. So just minor points as well, right? In terms of showmanship. If you're holding a piece of paper and you are nervous, it's going to be very obvious the paper is trembling. And that signals that nervousness. Is there that comfort on stage? So just little details matter. We also appreciated that there were some finalists who pay attention to details, even in attire and dressing. So kudos to you for paying attention to this, because it signals intentionality, of course. So this is helpful. Just to clarify, this is important, right? The way you present yourself on stage, the way you feel the words, how you pause. Can we also mention that there were some performances that were very rushed? So it didn't quite do as much justice to the words as we would have liked. Because on paper, your performances were very strong, right? I mean, and so we were waiting for the moment. You know, there is a moment, there is a beat to the words. It's like in theater, right? So we wanted to feel that moment with you. But if you rush through the words, there's not enough of an opportunity to hear it. So we really need you to pause just like that, even though your pieces were very strong. Right. So just to clarify, I'm not supposed to at this point announce the award winners. This we will leave it to your MC. Yes, yeah. But can we just mention that one of our award recipients was, let's put it this way, this is a challenge from Desmond, which is one of the award recipients, right, of our top three was clearly the strongest in terms of the oral delivery, the performance, right? But in terms of the quality of the writing, in terms of the metaphors, the figurative language, could afford to be reworked a little more in that sense, right? Another one of our award winners was clearly strongest in terms of the writing itself. So that's the flip side of it. But really could have afforded, as I said, to slow down and to engender that stage presence. Okay, so it's really important like that. And then there was, of course, another one of our award winners who signaled, we felt was strong in both the writing and also, of course, the performance itself, the oral delivery. In each of these categories, not as strong as the other two. Okay? But because he/she/they, right, signaled that command of both oral delivery and writing, right? So we would like to credit them/him/her. All right? Okay, now we're getting on with it because you will feel like, why are we going on? Okay, so of additional points, since we asked for detail, all right, we will now give it. Bearing in mind that, okay, if with a heavy topic like illness or injury, right, it's not just literal. So let's pay attention to how to avoid the cliches, because we know we need to avoid the cliches, right? But how do we do that? Let's excavate it. We need to excavate our experience a lot more. What does that mean? It means we peel the layers from it. So for example, if you read, okay, famous poem, The Panic Bird by Robert Phillips, is one of those O-level poems, right? And he talks about the experience of an anxiety attack, for instance. So does he just talk about, I felt panic? Okay, so no, it is that panic bird that ravaged his chest, and then we see the images, we feel it, we feel the shreds of flesh torn out from our hearts. Now that is showing, not telling. Okay, so let's try and engender that. And that's why, we noted, what we also appreciated was that the values of the poem undergird it. So if you signal, for example, that sense of empathy and compassion and fellow feeling for yourself, for others, as exemplified through your language, that is powerful, right? Because that's something we need to show, right? Like, are you paying attention to yourself as well in the experience and being true to yourself? And by being true to yourself, you are actually being true universally to others. Yeah, that's the paradox of it. And so, also, some of the pieces could have afforded to respond more directly to the theme. So it was important to ensure that, yes, it is, when we say illness unbound. So for example, if we talk about a general sense of malaise, of discontent, is that enough? Maybe we could afford to pull it a bit further in that sense, yeah? So let's pay attention to how precise and articulate our own metaphors are in that sense, right? So bearing all of this in mind, additional points, since we are from the Poetry Festival, all right, and we are multilingual and we celebrate this, if you're presenting in more than one language, no need to apologize for it. Celebrate that, okay? In fact, it's great because it shows we are bringing in threads of experience from diverse cultures. That is precisely what we are going to encourage. So in fact, and we love your poem, all right? So and for all of those who incorporated shreds or threads of experience from diverse cultures, traditions, your own family history, please continue. We wanted to hear, in fact, more of it, not less. Yeah, I mean, maybe it might need to be explained or clarified a little for the audience. But apart from that, what we wanted is authenticity. And all of you, by virtue of your really impressive performances, right, I think have done your schools proud and you've done yourselves proud. So once again, thank you on behalf of the judges. I'll leave it to the MC, to Jonathan, to share the results that you anticipate. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, Kit, for the really comprehensive remarks, and I hope we all take it in a spirit of learning. You know, all of us who write poetry are always learning how to write better, learning how to articulate and read better. Also, the National Poetry Competition, which is ongoing at the moment, which has a category for secondary school students and JC students, is open. So if you would like to submit your poems, we would encourage you to do so. Now, can I invite the director of Poetry Festival Singapore up, who will be handing out our prizes for today. We have 4 merit winners. Each winner will receive 2 books, and we have our top 3 finalists as well. So without further ado, our first merit recipient is dressed in yellow. It's Kathleen Ong from Hwa Chong Institution. Congratulations. Congratulations, Kathleen. Our next merit winner is from a madrasah. Sharifa binti Basri from Madrasah Al Junaid Al Islamia. Congratulations. Our third merit winner, I don't know if he's actually married, but he was wearing a wedding ring, is Shan Rai from ACJC. Congratulations. And our fourth merit recipient should be Dancing with Joy, is Ashlyn Chan from ACJC. Congratulations. Now on to our top three. In third place, from Nanyang Junior College, please welcome to receive her prize, Miss Carrie Tan. Congratulations. In second place, with her powerful delivery, congratulations to Ria Mehta from GIIS. Congratulations, Ria. And finally, our champion for today, powerful delivery and vocal projection. Let's hope he never smokes any cigarettes that would make his vocal cords go hoarse. Nyo Wei-zin from NUS High. Congratulations. Wait. So perhaps before we adjourn, maybe we can invite all the finalists up for a group photo with the judges, Eric and myself. Could I invite you all to the front? All right. Come in. Yeah. We might need 2 rows, right? Yes. You can't see the camera can't see you. Which one first? Like take turns?
Eric?
This year's edition of Write and Burn. Thank you all for spending your afternoon. Thank you all for spending your afternoons with us, and we look forward to seeing you all at Poetry Festival Singapore later in the year and next year's Write and Burn. Thank you.
Okay.